Hello viewers, it's Josie. Welcome back to Eclectic Movie Reviews. Excuse me. I was wearing this because it's cold where I am, and I may have to put it back on in the middle of the video. Okay, so the Golden Globes winners are announced tomorrow, and as what's known, they aren't having a real ceremony, and it's just going to be a press release. The Critics' Choice Awards were going to be held tomorrow, but were postponed indefinitely. SAG Award nominations will be announced on Wednesday, January 12th. Of course, these are all major Oscar precursors. As of now, the Oscars will be held on March 27th, 2022, although I wonder that will change. I wonder if the postponement of the Critics' Choice and the Grammys will set a precedent for the Oscars to be postponed as well. I wouldn't be surprised. Quite frankly, I think it should always be in April or May, heck, even June, because it allows time for people to catch up on movies, whether that be on streaming platforms or on home video. But long story short, because it's award season, I'm going to review some of the Best Picture frontrunners. As of today, I believe it's a 4-horse race between the films I will be discussing. Of course, it's all subject to change. We gotta see what happens at the precursors. But first things first, let's start off with Belfast, directed by Kenneth Branagh. This is a semi-autobiographical film. It follows a young boy named Buddy growing up in Belfast during the Troubles in the late 1960s. For those of you who do not know, the Troubles were tensions between the Catholics and the Protestants in Ireland. Buddy's parents are played by Katrina Balfe from Outlander and Jamie Dornan, who most of you know from 50 Shades of Grey, but like Katrina Balfe was in the TV world with The Tudors. Buddy's grandparents are played by Ciarán Hinds and Judi Dench. Belfast is shot in a beautifully shiny, crisp black and white with a few scenes of color. It's a very sweet and simple coming-of-age story. Because it's being heralded as one of the main Best Picture frontrunners, there are people online who are pretending to hate this movie because they want to sound cool and unique. If you don't want it to win Best Picture, fine, but pretending to dislike the movie for that reason alone, I find disingenuous. Do I necessarily want it to win Best Picture? No, there are some films that I put above it. But that does not take away from me thinking that it's a pretty darn good movie. Additionally, I think some people are sheepishly ashamed of liking a heartfelt crowd pleaser. Well, really, this movie's more bittersweet than anything. And they're making poorly constructed nitpicks like the story doesn't have a clear focus, or, and this one I really hate, it's only shot in black and white for the sake of being black and white. They're clearly missing the point. According to Branagh himself, black and white feels very forensic to me. It feels like you can really get inside people. You're not distracted by color. We wanted to feel these people. We wanted to not just describe them. Belfast is a city under the northern skies. It often rains. The monochrome is a tonal range I associate with it in a way, peppered by brilliant bursts of color. This brings me to some of my favorite scenes in the film. When he goes to the movie theater to see Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, the screen is in color while the audience is still in black and white. Similarly, when he watches High Noon on TV at home, that is also in color. It provides contrast to the harsh conditions at home in Belfast, to the fantastical spectacle of cinematic imagination. Moreover, I like how there's no one main overarching plot, but rather a series of scenes. Another movie I'll be talking about soon enough is like that too. It makes you feel closer to what Kenneth Branagh's real-life childhood could have been like. Let's face it, Life isn't written in a carefully organized fashion. I saw this with my support staffer, Jen, back in November. She comes from an Irish family. I wanted to get the perspective on the film from someone who actually is Irish. She liked it a lot too. I think Belfast is Kenneth Branagh's best film since Dead Again. And if you haven't seen Dead Again, please do. I believe it's streaming on HBO Max still. I could be wrong, because that's how I watched it. Or you can rent it at your local library or get an interlibrary loan. Belfast is in theaters and PVOD now. It's for sure a recommendation on my behalf. Next up, West Side Story, directed by Steven Spielberg. Going into this movie, I was certainly skeptical because it's a revival of a classic musical. Of course, the 1961 version won Best Picture. However, when the name Steven Spielberg is attached, you have to assume that it is at least above average. The film was definitely better than I thought it would be, but I still wouldn't call it a masterpiece. I do think it's a bit compromised. As far as the pros, the cinematography and production design are gorgeous. They make the film worth seeing in the theater. The production value of the film alone is a testament to how, on a technical level, Steven Spielberg still has it in him. All the performances, with the exception of one, are wonderful. I love how they casted mostly unknowns. Again, with the exception of one, but even he isn't that famous. More mainstream films should do this instead of casting the same bankable people over and over again. And Rachel Zegler, who plays Maria, has a talent beyond her age. Her voice is just angelic. Ariana DeBose is fabulous as Anita. I loved Mike Faist as Riff. The energy brought to the character was fantastic. I personally liked him better than Ansel Elgort as Tony, who unfortunately is the weakest link among the cast. And controversies about him cast aside, he lacks charisma and he has poor vocal range. Also, I did not like how in the film how they rearranged the placement of some of the songs. Recently, I found out that in the original Broadway production, I Feel Pretty was sung after the Rumble, whereas in the 1961 film, I believe it's sung prior. That may work for the stage, but it feels awkward on screen. Additionally, they reassigned some of the songs to different characters. Rita Moreno, who played the Oscar-winning role of Anita in the 1961 film, plays a gender-swapped version of the Doc character. Rather than Tony and Maria singing "Somewhere a Place for Us," she sings it. I am not against the idea of Rita Moreno singing Somewhere, but it would have felt more earned as a reprise had Tony and Maria sang it first. Then again, Ansel Elgort does not have the best singing voice. As much as I enjoyed the Dear Officer Krupke scene, I do wish Officer Krupke himself could have been present like he was in the 1961 version. These changes took away from the emotional impact some of these scenes could have had. Inevitably, this film, I think, as of now, will be an Oscar juggernaut. I think in the tech categories, it's gonna compete with Dune. I do think the technical aspects are worthy of nods, but I don't think it should dominate. It would be very, very, very lazy and uninspired if the Academy chose it as the Best Picture winner. It may sound like I'm completely bashing this movie. I'm not. In fact, it's a solidly entertaining film. I definitely like some parts better than others. I think the best scenes in the film are the opening Mambo and I Want to Be in America. I think that's the best sequence. Long story short, while I do think West Side Story was overhyped among initial reactions, it was still better than I thought it was going to be. Moving on to Licorice Pizza, directed by Paul Thomas Anderson. This is a really cute, sweet, coming-of-age love story set in the San Fernando Valley, 1973. Gary Valentine, played by Cooper Hoffman, son of the late, great Philip Seymour Hoffman, is a former child actor. He's also a hustling entrepreneur who carries out his own business schemes. On picture day at his school, he meets a photographer's assistant named Alana Kane, played by Alana Haim from the band Haim. Some people pronounce it Haim, some people pronounce it Haim. He immediately has a crush on her. She secretly likes him too. However, the problem is that he's 15 and she's 25. I am using asterisks because Alana Haim does not look 30 at all. Some discourse on the film has pointed out that while Gary is growing up too fast and is basically like a 40-year-old man in a teenage boy's body, Alana Haim's character is basically still a teenager because she still lives at home without a clear career path. And I think that's why their relationship doesn't feel pedophilic. In fact, it's played out pretty innocently. As I said, she and Gary physically look the same age. And recent science has pointed out that reverse biological aging is possible. Consider that. Gary and Alana become business partners selling waterbeds, and their friendship / will they won't they romance blooms from there. These breakthrough performances are wonderful. They are so naturalistic. I hope their careers rise after this film. I'm sure other directors will want to work with them, or Paul Thomas Anderson could work with them again. I believe he said he wants to. PTA has directed a couple of Haim's music videos, so I don't doubt that. There are lots of great cameos and small supporting players. Sean Penn and Bradley Cooper have hilarious bits. Tom Waits has a great scene. Benny Safdie plays a mayoral candidate. Mary Elizabeth Ellis, who is the waitress on Always Sunny in Philadelphia, who's married to Charlie Day, on Always Sunny, plays Gary's mom. Paul Thomas Anderson's wife, Maya Rudolph, has a scene. One of their daughters has a short appearance. And Haim's family, Alana Haim's real life family, is in the movie. Her parents and her two sisters, in the band Haim, are her family in the film. Stylistically speaking, in relation to his filmography, Licorice Pizza is closest to Boogie Nights and Punch Drunk Love, with hints of Inherent Vice. As far as Anderson channeling his cinematic influences, the color palette totally reminded me of the films of Robert Altman and Hal Ashby. The structure of the screenplay is very much like an Altman film in that it plays out like a series of vignettes rather than one cohesive A to B plot. In a Q&A, Alana Haim mentioned that Paul Thomas Anderson made them watch episodes of the MASH TV series. Robert Altman, of course, directed the MASH movie. Licorice Pizza has a hangout energy akin to Dazed and Confused and American Graffiti. Similar to those films, it has an awesome soundtrack. I've even been playing it in the car with my mom sometimes. Overall, I think this film will go down in cinematic history as a true coming-of-age classic. Big recommendation for me, Licorice Pizza is definitely my favorite comedy movie of the season, as well as my favorite romance. It is certainly the best teen romance I've seen in the past 10 years. Then finally, oh wait, before I move on, I wanted to show you guys some Licorice Pizza fan art I made. This is also up on my Instagram page. And next up, you've got The Power of the Dog, directed by Jane Campion. This is a new Western drama from Jane Campion, starring Benedict Cumberbatch, Jesse Plemons, Kirsten Dunst, and Cody Smith-McPhee. It is based on the novel of the same title by Thomas Savage. Jane Campion is most known for her Palme d'Or winning film The Piano, starring Holly Hunter, Harvey Keitel, Sam Neill, and Anna Paquin. That film won 3 Oscars, including Best Original Screenplay, Best Actress Holly Hunter, and Best Supporting Actress Anna Paquin. I watched that recently and thought it was very, very good. The Power of the Dog is nominated for many Golden Globes and Critics' Choice Awards. It won the Best Director prize at Venice and has been racking up lots of wins in regional critics groups. It has also been a surprise hit on Netflix. This goes to show you how the cinephile crowd is a much bigger demographic than given credit for. I was surprised about how much I loved this movie. Knowing Jane Campion directing it and having loved The Piano, I knew it was going to be at least above average. I wasn't expecting it to be up there for my favorite of the season. I don't want to reveal too much about the plot of the film, but I will cover the basics. It takes place in 1925 Montana. Benedict Cumberbatch and Jesse Plemons play brothers named Phil and George Burbank. Phil, played by Benedict Cumberbatch, who does an amazing job and needs to win Best Actor, is a rancher who tries to act all tough, high and mighty, but is deeply insecure and feeble on the inside. George, played by Jesse Plemons, marries a widowed woman named Rose, played by Kirsten Dunst, who is fantastic. They are a real-life couple, and they're so cute together. Rose has a son named Peter, played by Cody Smith-McPhee, who is phenomenal. Benedict Cumberbatch's character is emotionally and psychologically abusive to them. He's mawkish and condescending. He even has this eerie whistle that goes like doo 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 doo. I'm saying it like that because I can't whistle. That's not a spoiler because it's in the trailer. Despite never wanting to go down that route, Kirsten Dunst's character feels so taunted from Benedict Cumberbatch's behavior that she takes the route of alcoholism. And it's revealed in the film that Rose's late husband, Peter's father, was an alcoholic and hung himself. Later, Phil, Benedict Cumberbatch, forms this weird mentorship with Peter, Cody Smith-McPhee. And I don't want to go beyond that. I may do a spoiler analysis of Power of the Dog sometime in the near future, because there's just so much to unpack with it, both thematically and on a artistic, technical level. I was surprised to see how Campion blends genres. It's a period genre, a western, a psychological thriller, and even part romance. I also consider it sort of a coming-of-age story with the arc of Cody McPhee's character, Peter. At the New York Film Festival conversation with Jane Campion and the cast at Lincoln Center, Campion explained how Thomas Savage's novel of the same title was semi-autobiographical. According to Campion, he came to the ranch in a similar manner as Peter. His mother married a brother at that time, Ed Brenner, who actually is the inspiration for Phil Burbank. I imagine he thought of himself as Peter in a way. From a visual standpoint, the cinematography is atmospherically transformative. I know this is a Netflix movie, but I kind of wish I saw this on the big screen with how beautiful the landscape scenery is. This is the one film this year that I watched at home that I wish I could have seen on the big screen. Although the setting of the story is Montana, the movie was filmed on Jane Campion's home turf of New Zealand. She's a Kiwi. The production design is some of the best I've seen for a Western in a really long time. I totally wanted to touch the walls of the house and ranch. I wanted to walk around the ranch. Johnny Greenwood's score is brilliant as always. He's definitely one of the best composers we have working today. He's had quite a great year with this, Spencer, and he does a track on Licorice Pizza. What else can I say? The Power of the Dog is just so darn good. I almost wish it wasn't a Netflix movie. I feel like it's too good to be a Netflix original. Like, I wish another studio had it like Paramount. Let's face it, most Netflix original movies are complete shit. I don't even think all their prestigious award season players are even that great. I'm in the minority here, but I thought Roma was overrated. Marriage Story is just awful. I really did like The Irishman and Mank. Those are two good movies. But Power of the Dog just totally blows those out of the water. Like I said, it's too good for Netflix. What's my favorite of these? It's a tough call between Licorice Pizza and The Power of the Dog. I like them both for different reasons. If I were a Globes voter, I would give The Power of the Dog Best Motion Picture Drama and Licorice Pizza Comedy or Musical. And that will do it for my reviews of the Best Picture Frontrunners. I hope you enjoyed this. The links to my socials, including Letterboxd, Instagram, Twitter, are below. Although I don't log on Letterboxd that much. I mainly do lists because these reviews and writings I do are a lot of work for me. And I try to make them as well thought out as possible. Oh, and speaking of Letterboxd, one of my Christmas gift was a movie lover's journal, and it's kind of like an offline Letterboxd. And look, here's The Power of the Dog logged on paper. And here's Licorice Pizza. Well, it's been a pleasure sharing this with you. See you next time. Goodbye for now.